Hi, sorry. I'm back. I'm trying to tell people in the chat and the other one. I was just thinking that hasn't happened in so long. I know, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. It just stopped. Don't you dare. Hello. Hopefully everyone from the other one is here. I'm scared of you right now. My cat's attacking me. I think she did. She's actually really scaring me right now. Stop. Ow! No. Oh my God. No. Stop. Oh my. Stop. No. No. Ow! Ow! She just attacked me. She's out of control. Okay, let's continue. Thankfully, that was all off camera. Okay, let's continue with Alec Baldwin. Don't you come over here. Where was I? She has been super feisty. Okay, so what the firearms expert said about this defense of saying it just went off by... She scratched the crap out of my arm just now. Okay, so what this firearms expert getting coffee? Cheers. So with Alec Baldwin saying, now he never says what exactly he thinks happened. He never said, oh, it misfired. He just said, which I thought was really interesting, he just said, I did not pull the trigger. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull the trigger. So that's basically all he said. And this firearms expert, Wolf, who's worked on a lot of films, said it's really important to, and I just thought this was really good what he said. He said it's really important to discredit anyone who claims that guns fire themselves. If this becomes an acceptable defense, there goes any accountability when it comes to shooting people. We can't have this kind of guns shoot themselves things. They don't, which I thought was a really smart thing to say, and I think that's really important. For instance, I don't know if that reminds you of anything recently, Waukesha, everyone blaming the car, but it's the same sort of thing. That was the news coverage. It wasn't that someone was driving the car and intentionally rode through a crowd. It was the car basically drove itself through the crowd. I would never point a gun at someone. Yeah. So Baldwin then went on to say, I never heard any words about this. So as we know, there were people that walked off the set the day before. They had safety concerns. We also know that there were several false discharges before this even happened. And Baldwin sort of played dumb. He was asked about the safety conditions on the set, and he said, I never observed any unsafe conditions. Oh, except for the misfire, but never around me. Nothing ever happened around me. He was then asked about John Schneider, the actor in Dukes of Hazzard. Oh, I think I heard. I would like to watch his response to this. He then went on to say, everybody who makes movies has the responsibility not to be reckless and careless with money that you're given. I personally did not observe any safety or security issues at all the entire time I was there. We have heard other actors complain about not feeling safe in the scenes. This was something that they said several times. And there were 2 misfires that happened on this set. They hired a young, inexperienced armorer on this set. So there was safety concern after safety concern after safety concern. And this was not the only live round that found its way on the set. So again, basically what he was doing the entire time was taking all the blame off him and then putting it on everyone else. And it was really strange because he goes on, he takes all the blame off himself, but then in the very end, he goes on to say, well, I don't want anything to happen to Hannah or the assistant director. I don't want anything to happen to them either. So who is responsible? Someone was negligent. Who was negligent? And we do know that you are supposed to check the gun that's in your possession. He also says he doesn't think that he'll be criminally charged. He says, I have dreams about this constantly. I wake up constantly where guns are going off. These images have come into my mind and have kept me awake at night, and I haven't slept for weeks, and I've been really struggling physically. He continues to say throughout this entire thing, I'm not the victim here. He says that several times. I'm not the victim, and then he makes himself the victim right after that. This entire thing was a PR stunt. It was made to feel sympathy for Alec Baldwin, and I don't think he did this on purpose. Clearly, I don't doubt that he's really upset over it and that this isn't traumatizing for him. But this, in my opinion, is in such poor taste to do this now. It's just one more thing that he's doing to put the attention on himself. And don't forget, right after this happened, he flew off to Vermont with his wife. He went on a shopping spree at Ralph Lauren. He rented out an entire little bistro and sat conveniently in the front of the window of the bistro so that paparazzi could get photos of him. He had that bizarre impromptu press conference on the side of the road in Vermont where he didn't have to do that. So I don't feel that much sympathy for him, and I'm sorry if I'm being harsh, but I really don't. I know he didn't mean to. I'm not in any way saying that, but and then he goes on to say, you mean his esposa? Yes, his non-Spanish speaking wife. He then goes on to bring up the criticism that he's been receiving for his political views. And I haven't seen everyone's criticism for his political views. I have criticized him because it's really difficult to not point out. And this is just one more example. He is asking everyone, all the little people, to give him sympathy for what happened. Does he give other people the benefit of the doubt? Does he listen to other people before he judges them? No, he doesn't. And I'm one of those people that he judges. He judges me for my beliefs without taking the time to understand why I have those beliefs. He goes on and demonizes police officers without taking the time to actually look at the facts of what actually happened in each instance. So he wants the benefit of the doubt from everyone else. He doesn't want to be judged. And here he is again, basically slamming those that are quick to judge him when he does this to everyone else. Does he give anyone else the benefit of the doubt? Does he give sympathy for anyone else? And he is also the one that infamously tweeted out, gee, I wonder what it feels like to accidentally off someone. He had that tweet and he was referring to a police-involved shooting. And now he wants people to feel sorry for him. How does he think police officers feel when sometimes things end fatally? You know, there's other things involved. It's not just a black and white situation. And if this was just a black and white situation with him, he's the one with the gun. He was the one that was pointing it. He was the one that had it in his hands when it went off. So the whole thing, if I did feel a modicum of sympathy for Alec Baldwin, he then says, someone is responsible for what happened. It's not me. So he says someone is responsible, but then at the very end, he says he doesn't want anything to happen to Hannah, and he doesn't want anything to happen to David. He was the assistant director who handed off the gun, which is really odd. He's pointing at everyone except for him. And again, he even mentioned, I was doing exactly what I was told. The cinematographer told me to point it this way, and I was doing what I was told, taking the blame away from himself and actually putting it on the person that is no longer with us, the victim in all of this. He goes on to say, honest to God, if I felt that I was responsible, I might have offed myself. If I thought I was responsible, and I don't say that lightly. At the end of the interview, Baldwin said he thinks back, what could I have done? The actor said this is the worst thing that ever happened to him. He also, this is really, I don't know if anyone else caught this that watched. He also goes on to say, I'm never going to work on a set with a gun again. And that was kind of my feeling of what he's going to try to do. He's going to shift the conversation to him having any responsibility, and he's going to put it immediately to the gun. So the gun is the bad thing. Guns are bad to have. Guns are what's wrong here, not the person that's mishandling it. He also goes on to say that he answers the question for his responsibility as the producer, because that's what a lot of us were saying. We're like, he has sort of double responsibility, because not only is he the person, the actor who had this in his hand, he's also a producer on the film, which they oversee a lot of the budget and things like that. So he would also be involved in who they hire. But he goes on to say that he was not involved in any of the actual paperwork or anything like that, any of the budgeting. I will say this, he actually had a really good point. He had one interesting point. So 2 cast members already, or 2 crew members have already filed civil suits, and he thought that was a little weird that they filed civil suits before the father of Helena's son. So I do think that's interesting, but he expects Helena's son, or the father of Helena's son, is going to have is going to file a civil lawsuit. He was also asked if he felt guilty. I think I told you that before, and he said that he felt no guilt. And again, I think that I actually do. He probably does feel guilty, but I think that's something that unfortunately you have to say for legal reasons. If you say you feel guilty, you could inadvertently be admitting guilt. And something that the actor that someone brought up, what is his name again? Is it John Schneider? I watched a little bit of his response to it, and you know, he brought up something really interesting. Alec Baldwin is known to be a bully, and he brought up a scenario, and this is what seems to be happening with Alec Baldwin. He brought up a scenario in which, okay, let's say 2 kids are playing on the playground, and the bully is pushing a kid on the swing, and he's pushing harder and harder and harder, and the kid said, stop, you're pushing too hard, and he keeps pushing really hard, and then the kid falls and injures themselves. What is the first thing the bully's going to do? I didn't do it. I wasn't pushing that. It wasn't me. I wasn't pushing hard. They never told me to stop. What are you talking about? And it almost seems like that's what Alec Baldwin is doing. Even if a person is not at fault, they do feel guilt. But of course, he thinks he can't be honest since he's on video, yeah. And the whole thing, it was dramatic, and it was like he kept saying, I'm not the victim here. I'm not the victim. And to me, even at first I was thinking, okay, you know, maybe this is good that he's coming out and saying something. Maybe that's a positive thing. Baldwin is definitely a narcissist. I totally agree. Now I actually agree with that more than ever. And he's just a big, giant hypocrite as well. After watching it, every benefit of the doubt that I gave him is now, because this was just about like me, what I'm going. And keep in mind, his wife was posting pictures on her Instagram of all of their children, saying, we're trying to get through this on Halloween, just a few weeks after this happened, saying, we're trying to get through this time, and this is really difficult. We're just trying to make things as normal as possible. And she has this beautiful picture of her whole family and all the kids. And it's one more thing. It's just in such poor taste. Anyway, enough about Alec Baldwin. The elites are all narcissists. I still like when he's saying, I'll never work on a set with a gun again. Again, taking the blame off him and using the gun as what's to blame when clearly something was not happening there. Okay, so now I wanted to talk about what's happening so we're total different subject now. Chicago public schools. This one really gets me too. And they actually have been talking about doing this. I guess he won't be on 90% of movie sets. Well, he did say in the interview that he was supposed to be filming something in December. Yeah, this month. Yeah, blah. Alec makes me sick. Okay, well, this might make you too. And this just blows my mind because the more I think about what I'm about to tell you, I actually think I might have a decent solution for this that would not put anyone in harm's way or not make anyone feel comfortable. But this video went viral yesterday on social media, and it was a video from Chicago Public School Systems, and it was the superintendent of Chicago Public Schools, and the superintendent was making an announcement that moving forward, as they welcome back their students after break, they are going to start using gender neutral bathrooms. So they're going to be changing the signage on all their bathrooms. So for instance, and they're doing this to be in accordance to the new, what do you call it? New not federal mandates. You guys know what I'm saying. So they're going to be doing it to be in accordance with federal law. Because as you know, the Biden administration made it so that you cannot discriminate against gender identity, which is what we did in California, which has already caused a lot of issues here in California with people that take advantage of those easily accessed areas. So they are going to, all of their schools are going to have basically gender neutral bathrooms. So the girls' bathroom is going to say girls plus, and the boys' bathroom is going to say boys plus, and then they'll have the gender neutral one. So you use the bathroom that goes into accordance with your gender identity, not your biological sex. And they are doing this to be more inclusive and have a more equitable environment, the words that we hear often. And there was a really interesting response by a parent, and I would like to read it for you. So a lot of people clearly are outraged because of this. And of course, the most vulnerable population are young girls. And keep in mind, when you're a teenage girl, I'm sorry for the guys out there, you're getting your period for the first time. Like, it's really awkward, it's really uncomfortable, it's really embarrassing, and just everything is embarrassing about being a teenage girl. And the bathroom area is a very, very, very vulnerable space. And we've already heard stories of girls that go to school in some of these schools that have already implemented this, and they won't go to the bathroom all day. They'll purposely not drink liquids when they're at school, and they will hold their urine until they get home because they're uncomfortable and they don't want to use the bathrooms. So this is how a parent responded, which I thought was really interesting. Oh, that's the wrong one. Okay, so this parent said, my girls will not feel comfortable sharing a bathroom with boys. Who is making these ridiculous decisions? Who is making sure girls are not harassed or bullied in the stalls? Where can my child get privacy to ensure no boy will try to peek at her while she is in a stall? This is backwards, not acceptable. What about the girls that have their periods? Sorry, guys. What about the girls that have their periods and are already uncomfortable in their restrooms, and they're now being subjected to having boys in there? Wow, I guess nobody learned anything from the attacks that happened in Virginia because of similar policies. My child will never attend school with such policies that endanger students. School restrooms are a prime location for bullying. I am concerned for female students' safety and self-esteem. Parents need to weigh in before this goes district-wide. Why not designate 1 or 2 gender-neutral restrooms at school while keeping the other restrooms gender-specific? And this is what my solution would have been. I don't know about your school, but I remember in all of my schools, you would have the girls' restrooms and then the boys' restrooms, and then you would have scattered all over the place. You would have just individual stalls where the door locked by itself. Why not designate those gender neutral bathrooms. Wouldn't that be an easy solution? Because the population that we're talking about is a very, very small population of people. So, or have them go and use the teachers' restrooms, because the teachers are they're just staff restrooms. They're not gender specific either. But this is putting young girls at risk. And I didn't even think about that before, but it is. The restrooms are a very hot spot for harassment and for bullying, because that's an area where typically teachers aren't monitoring. So you have teachers monitoring the hallways during class changes, and you have teachers in the classroom, but the bathrooms are the one area where you don't have supervision. So now you're just opening it up for even more harassment. It seems like we are focusing our attention on such a small population when putting a greater population at risk. So we'll see what happens with this. They're supposed to be changing it on December 1st. So they're implementing this. They're starting to implement this now. It's just not fair. It's not fair for young girls. And being someone who was previously a teenage girl, it's such an uncomfortable, very awkward time. And when you say that, people are like, well, what about everyone else who feels uncomfortable in the bathroom? Then maybe go to one of those gender neutral bathrooms. I know that if I go to, like, if you're in a big location, like I noticed at Target recently, if you look at their bathrooms, they have men, women, and then they have a family bathroom that's an individual stall that anyone can go into. So use that restroom. But now you're opening up, and teenage boys can be really gross too, and they're known to be they're known to have hijinks and play pranks, and they peep on girls. So how do you know that's not going to happen? I remember when I was growing up, I can't believe I used to do this, but I used to go to the tanning bed. Ugh, don't do it. It's not good for you. I used to go to the tanning bed growing up, and there was a guy that got busted actually peeping in on girls in the tanning bed, because the walls to the individual rooms that you would go to tan in didn't go all the way to the front. So it was somebody that worked there. He would go to the room next door and like stand on a chair and peep over the wall while girls were in the stalls by themselves getting undressed and going into the tanning bed. So stuff like that does happen. Gender neutral needs to be a single stall private bathroom. I totally agree. And in my high school, we had lots of those all around the place. And if you don't have those, then maybe use the staff restrooms until you can afford, if it's that important to you to be inclusive for everyone, then use the teachers' restrooms, because every school I know of has staff restrooms, and most of those I believe are individual stalls, because it's for male and female staff to go into. So it's impossible with a revolver to shoot a bullet without pulling the trigger. I don't know a whole lot about guns. I just know what I read. I know that I shot the same gun when I went to go learn how to shoot. I shot the same gun that was used on that set, and you really had to pull the trigger to make it go off. But yeah, you also open it up, and that's the thing, and again, are you moving out of California? Not yet, but I will be moving. Actually, I'm glad you asked about California, because I'm going to be getting to California now. Not yet, but I will be going to, I'm in Virginia right now, but I'll be going back to California. I will be moving to a much safer area, because unfortunately, where I used to live, the area that I loved is not as safe as it once was. And since you brought up California, that's what I'm going to talk about next, because I don't know if you guys remember talking about the woman who had a robbery in Beverly Hills. Why were you using? I had two. So I had that one. It was a revolver, and then I had another one, and I can't remember what the other one was. So we got to practice on two of them. I think it was an automatic. I don't know. I don't know much about guns. Okay, so hold on, I'm just pulling this story up. So the person, so it was the wife of the huge music executive, Jacqueline Avant, who I'm sure it was a very expensive home, lived in Beverly Hills, and about 2:30 a.m. Last week, she had someone who broke into her home, and she was fatally wounded by the person that broke into her home. And the person actually got caught, so I'm going to tell you who it was. So this person, again, you guys, they finally caught the individual. So Jacqueline Avant, she, a very wealthy woman, was married to a huge music executive, very well respected in the music community. He's in the Hall of Fame. What, Eva? He's in the Hall of Fame, and in Beverly Hills, someone broke into her house attempting to rob. And here's an interesting fact that I didn't know. The husband was in the home, and so was a security guard. So even with a security guard in the home, this person was able to get in and fatally shot Jacqueline. But they caught the individual, and surprise, surprise, this is yet another person who has an extensive history and should have been in jail. So the person's name, what is his name? Ariel Maynard. And you know, want to know how he was caught? He was in Hollywood attempting to rob another house, and he accidentally shot himself in the foot. So that's how he got caught. I'm not joking. So he got out on parole on September 1st, so he hasn't even been out that long, and this is his rap sheet. So in 2013, he was convicted of felony robbery, sentenced to 5 years. In 2018, he was convicted of felony robbery again, and was convicted to 4 years. Under California law, this actually should have been 9 years because we have the 3 strikes. This was his second strike. So if you get in trouble for the same crime again, you get a bigger sentence. And they did this, the reason they did this was because it actually deterred crime. But now George Gascon, our new DA, he's taking that away. He doesn't like the 3 strikes. He thinks it's too harsh, even though he should have still been in jail if they were doing this. His past arrests also include another felony robbery, which he pleaded out of, grand theft, assault, burglary, domestic violence. Those last 3 were declined prosecutions, according to a source. So he just got out in September, and already, and this just goes to show, these are the people that they want to help with criminal justice reform. And I'm not saying that criminal justice reform is bad. It's very good. But what they're doing is a very, very radical form of criminal justice reform. And I don't know how it's reform when they keep letting out dangerous career criminals and then they go on to offend. This is also someone who clearly has no regard for life. Aren't y'all recalling the DA? I'll get to that in a second. You commit the same crime multiple times, you deserve harsh sentences. Exactly. That's what the 3 strikes was, to deter people from committing the same crime. This person clearly has no regard for human life, has no regard for the rule of law or absolutely anything. He got out in September. He's already offending again. He went and robbed and fatally wounded a woman and didn't even take a few days off. And he was out robbing again. Thankfully, he accidentally shot himself in the foot and he got caught. But it's so angering because all of these things are so preventable, and they keep letting these people out early, or they keep giving these people light sentences, and then they just go out and reoffend. There are some people who just deserve, and in my opinion, well, now he fatally wounded a woman. Someone said, I disagree with the 3 strikes law in regards to nonviolent offenders. Yeah, I think that's a good point, but this person was clearly a violent offender. He had domestic abuse, assault. It's a revolving door with these criminals, yes. And they're just being let out on the street. How do I find my daughter is a good man? There's lots of good men out there. But I'm glad that they caught him, because a lot of these things, none of them get caught. And what's happening now, so all the smash and grabs that are happening in California, you have cities now that are putting more money into their police departments and having more officers. The Walnut Creek area, they're putting $2 million back into police. They're getting cameras. And I love when people say that. They're like, well, let's just put more cameras. Okay, that might help you catch people, but it's not going to stop crime. But at least they're spending their money on cameras, and they're putting 5 more officers in the areas that these are happening, which I think is good. It's just so frustrating because all of this stuff is so preventable. And with the criminal justice reform, we're told that it's for low-level drug crimes and stuff like that, but they keep letting out people that have previous violent offenses, and then they go out and they commit more crimes. Oh, I have a joke. My favorite joke. I wish I could find it. It's actually a meme. So we were talking about it yesterday. The Waukesha criminal, the guy that drove his car, Daryl Brooks, I believe his name is, the guy that drove his car into the crowd. He was saying that he felt dehumanized. Well, somebody commented on this news post and said, is it because people keep referring to him as a car? Because they would never say that it was the person that drove the car that committed these crimes. It was a mostly peaceful SUV. It was the SUV that accidentally drove into the crowd. And they're going so off the deep end with this stuff that people are waking up to it and calling out their hypocrisy, and it's causing them to call out progressive policies that are causing these things to happen. And they're even calling out the fact that the news organizations, they don't want to be honest about it, because then they'll have to say, well, who was this person? Why was he not in jail? Oh, it's because of all of the progressive policies that I have promoted on my news network for this long. That's why. He feels dehumanized. What about that he mowed people over? No thoughts for them. Yeah, and apparently there's one little girl, Mackenzie. I shared her story last night. She's in really bad shape. And she's just this like tiny little thing, like really bad shape, and is just going through surgery after surgery after surgery. Someone said, your voice sounds familiar. Did you used to do voice acting? I did do voice acting, but I'm pretty sure you haven't seen anything that I've been in. So I must just have a familiar voice. That's actually, what did you do? I did a lot of like independent films. You can search my name on IMDb and it'll list all of them on there. I haven't had that question in such a long time. Oh gosh.
And today, the incredible news that our unemployment rate has fallen to 4.2%. Very bit of progress. Our economy is markedly stronger than it was a year ago. And today, the incredible news that our unemployment rate has fallen.
That's actually everything I had. Do you guys have any questions? I can hang out for a little longer. But that was all. That went by really fast. This is my second favorite lunchtime activity after eating burritos. Yeah, if you guys have any question or anything else, did you hear him? I was just on Twitter, and here, I'll show you. They're like, what's wrong with his voice? His voice does sound weird, doesn't it?
Very bit of progress. Our economy is markedly stronger than it was a year ago. And today, the incredible news that our unemployment rate has fallen to 4.2%. Very bit of progress.
He sounds weird, doesn't he?
Markedly stronger than it was a year ago. And today,
That doesn't sound good.
News that our unemployment rate has fallen to 4.2%.
Oh, our DA, George Gascon. Yes, there is a recall effort. Let's check on that right now. I know it has a lot of signatures. Here we go. And you know what's really frustrating too? Let's see, George Gascon recall. Well, you know, Chesa Bodine. So Chesa Bodine is very similar to George Gascon. And George Gascon was actually, which is really surprising to me. This is, I think, the problem. I don't think people really know who they're voting for. So George Gascon was DA in San Francisco. I don't think he was right before Chesa Bodine. But anyway, that's where Chesa Bodine is DA right now. Almost like identical offices, basically. They run the exact same way. They're both Soros funded, both like super, they call them the rogue DAs. Both like super progressive. So they're basically the same DA. And there is a recall effort in San Francisco for Chesa Bodine. And that one actually got enough signatures. And yeah, very unique. And I didn't know this. And this isn't like, he's very open about it. Chesa Bodine, his parents were super progressive and his parents were convicted of murder. So he wasn't raised by his parents. He was raised, I can't remember if it was a family member or an adoptive home or something, but his parents were convicted of murder. Chesa Bodine, the DA and he's very open about it. It's not like he tries to hide it or it's like a skeleton in his closet, but I can't remember the whole story about it, but that's just super weird. But they got enough signatures, so there is going to be a recall election against Chesa Bodine, I believe in June. Oh no, that's very sad. So it looks like the first recall effort, I haven't been super up to date on that, but the first recall effort against George Gascon actually fizzled out, which is really interesting. So they're going to do a retry, but I will tell you that happened with Gavin Newsom. So there were several recall efforts against Gavin Newsom, and a lot of them fizzled out. But the last one clearly went through. So it looks like that's what's happening with George Gascon, and with this skyrocketing crime, I mean, it's just not a secret anymore. I was looking in my neighborhood, I think I said this yesterday, but in my old neighborhood, and I'm talking like the streets that I used to walk down every single day, and I was talking to my boyfriend last night. I was like, if I still lived in that neighborhood, because of the amount of walking that I did, because of how much I was outside, it would only be a matter of time, because it's gotten so bad. It would only be a matter of time until I was either approached by someone or robbed by someone or something, because of just the frequency at which it's happening, and because of the roads that it's happening on. Right by my grocery store, there's a Whole Foods next to my house. A man was stabbed there, and it was just a random attack out of nowhere. He was found on the ground bleeding. Just a little bit down the road, off the same road, there was a 23-year-old girl, 7:30 p.m. at night, that was fatally shot, like right there in front of a Trader Joe's, in front of a nice apartment complex. So with the crime getting as out of control as it is, I think the recall effort would be more successful this time, but that is a shame that it totally fizzled out. It didn't get a lot of coverage. Only people that really, really pay attention, like myself and maybe a few others, are the only ones that probably even know that we have a progressive DA. Other than that, I don't think most people don't pay attention, especially people in Los Angeles. Let's be honest about the people that live in Los Angeles. They do not pay attention. And that's probably how some of these people get voted in. And it's sad too. I was also reading, a lot of these rogue DAs, a lot of these super progressive DAs, they have so much funding. that typically someone that is running maybe has like a few $100,000 to run as a DA, as a local DA, and they're getting funding in the millions. So every time you turn on the television or get on the internet, you're bombarded with one name. And when you see something over and over and over again, that's probably who you're going to vote for, especially with hot button words like reimagine and forward thinking. That sounds so, ooh, we're going to be progressive and move forward. Go for walks with Eva and nobody will F with you. I know. Defense bill and oh, I didn't, Glenn. Should we look at it now? Oh, I actually do have good news. I don't know if this was announced, but it should be announced sometime soon. The U.S. You can look this up. I don't have an article right now to reference, but the U.S. and Mexico actually came to a deal, so they are going to be re-implementing the Remain in Mexico policy. We've talked about the fact that the Supreme Court ordered them to re-implement the Remain in Mexico policy, but they had to wait for Mexico and the U.S. to come to a deal. But they did come to a deal, which is good. The first thing I saw about the defense bill is the woke army. What is in the defense bill? What? The woke military is no defense at all. What? What's in this bill? And this is the Hill too. This is not a right-leaning. A woke military is no defense at all. Why defense bill in current form must not pass? Holy cow. The proposed National Defense Authorization Act will encourage critical indoctrination and other woke policies while reducing our military preparedness. Seems like a great idea. 41 Republican senators can stand together against the blinding liberal programs and the NDAA per Senate rules. They can make sure the vaccine mandate go away before, okay. Republicans in the House also have the leverage to prevent passage of the bill because Democrats need Republicans' votes to pass the bill. Currently, thousands of military men and women in whom we place significant trust, in whom we have invested heavily, at risk of being tossed from the military because they do not, because of the mandate. All right. The unconstitutional mandates are bad enough, but the Biden administration and some of our military leaders have become missionaries of the left. They are focused on finding white supremacy in the military. They are convinced that our biggest national threat is climate change, not the Chinese, not North Korea, nor any other of the increasingly bad international actors. Okay, so it seems, Glenn, let me know if I'm right, but it seems like within this defense bill, they are trying to push the whole CRT thing, which is just bad news bears. Okay, if they stop, so this is going to implement mandates and produce a defense spending package that focuses on national security. Oh. Okay, so it looks like this is going to, it was the women signing up for selective service. What is selective service? The draft. Oh, yeah, I don't like that. Well, that was originally, correct me if I'm wrong, but originally, do you think there will be no, I don't. Originally, well, actually there is right now. I know someone that just joined the military and had to get vaccinated to join the military. So I think there sort of is right now already. Originally, that's why women didn't want the right to vote, because they didn't want to be a part of the draft. And I would hate to see women be a part of the draft. That is one area that I do not want equality. Federal judge, yeah, a lot of these judges are stopping the mandates, but you still have Biden out there encouraging companies to implement mandates. There will be if the bill passes. That is so sad. No, I don't agree with that. I don't like that. I don't think, and this is why I don't think so. I don't think women should be forced to sign up for the draft because they can have children. And someone has to take, I mean, I guess that sounds backwards to some people, but I don't think so. I think it's perfectly okay to say that men and women are different and we're built differently and we have different abilities. Because women have babies, because they can get pregnant, I don't think they should be mandated to sign up for the draft. Or I don't think they should have to be drafted. The squad put it in there. Of course they did. I refuse to be drafted under this administration. Yeah, what if you don't like your administration? Do you have to? Good morning. Yeah, I don't like that. But I guess according to them, men can get pregnant and have periods too, so they really are trying to take everything that makes a woman away and everything that makes a man away. And I think that's really dangerous, because I think it's totally okay to recognize that we are different. Our bodies are capable of different things, and we also have limitations. There's nothing wrong or sexist about saying that. And it's like yin and yang, the feminine and the masculine. It works perfectly together, but they're trying to take away anything that differentiates men and women, even down to the bathrooms. And I think that weakens society. If you know, in China, they actually try to teach their men to be more manly. And here in America, we're teaching our men to be more feminine. I also think that's why a lot of radical feminists are, I wouldn't say radical feminists, I would say fourth wave feminists. I think that's a lot why so many women, and I have some of these women in my life, so many women that subscribed to fourth wave feminist ideas are not very happy at all. They're not, because you're going against your biology and your human nature. They're taught, have your high paying career. You don't need a man. Be more masculine. I can do anything a man can do. I'm a bad bitch. Excuse my language. But they say things like that. And first of all, most men that I know like feminine women. They don't want women to be like, I know better than you. I can do what you can do. Blah, 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 blah. That's kind of annoying. Thank you. Someone said nice purse. Thank you. But when you teach women that, and I know I was being kind of silly, but when you teach, exactly, they were sold a lie, and it does not bring them happiness. J.K. Rowling is a feminist that I stand behind. Yes. I also, oh, thank you so much, Lance. I spent a week training female Marines for some dog and pony show. We broke all of them. We are slightly different. Yeah, and honestly, there are some women that I know in the military that, Tulsi Gabbard, she was in the military. I can't remember exactly what she did, but she was in the military. But she's someone she's strong, but she's also feminine at the same time. But she doesn't have that attitude. I can do anything. I can blah, 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 blah. She still, to me, has a really nice demeanor. And, but yeah, I think a lot of women were sold a lie. They were sold, I don't need a man. I don't need a boyfriend. Toxic masculinity. And they realize that that does not bring them any happiness at all. And a lot of women are told that, go and have your career and make lots of money. Tulsi is dreamy. Swoon. Yes, I love Tulsi. But she's someone that was in the military. But But yeah, we are made differently. Oh, but I was going with radical feminists. There's a lot of radical feminists, especially here in California. I actually agree with them on a lot of things because they don't like this whole gender identity thing. They think that that tramples the rights of women. They don't like biological men in women's sports. They don't like the gender identity law, which allows men to be in women's spaces. And now in California, we have gender identity in the prisons. So if you are a male prisoner and you just identify as a female, you don't have to have your parts, you don't have to look like a female. If you identify as a female, you can be transferred to a woman's prison. And they actually have a lot of cases where this is happening right now. And there's a lawsuit that a lot of radical feminists are behind to try to overturn this and give rights back to women. And now you have it to where if you are a woman and you criticize this, you're being called that you are phobic. I saw a video. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I could not believe I saw this. I'm going off topic. I saw a video yesterday. I stopped following this person. It was a person that I follow on social media, and they had like a video that was made, and basically the video was saying that if you are not attracted to someone that is trans, then that means that you are phobic. So if I don't want to date someone that's trans, that's because I'm phobic. And their reasoning behind that is because I'm a woman. Even though you're not a biological woman, the fact that you call yourself a woman, you are a woman. Or if you call yourself a man, you are a man. And I looked at the comment section, and all these people were like, wait a second, I'm a woman. I'm only attracted to biological men. That does not mean that I am phobic in any way. And why are you trying to force an attraction on someone? Isn't that what we're trying to get away from? Doesn't that go against everything that women's rights has ever said? You are allowed to be attracted to who you want to be attracted to. Yeah, that totally goes against like how many women have been harassed and have been stalked by people that are trying to force a relationship or force an attraction upon them. And now we're completely going backwards and saying that if you're not attracted to me just because of my biological sex, then that means that you're phobic and you need to get no, that's not how it works. And sorry, but you're not doing anything for your cause. Exactly. So long for the Me Too movement, going completely backwards. But you have people that are so radical that they think this is true. I love women. It's just the way I am. Weird, not good or bad. Exactly. So it's almost like if I don't prefer someone that has a brunette, am I phobic against blondes or redheads? It's the silliest thing I ever heard. But it's interesting because they go so far off the deep end that regular, just normal people that usually go with most progressive movements, because I think most people want to be progressive, they want to accept everyone, they want to be inclusive, but they go so far with it that now you start pushing people away. But I was proud to see in that comment section, because this is someone who's very liberal, I was proud to see in that comment section that tons of normal people were like, whoa, this is not it. It's like their own version of conversion therapy. Oh, and that's what I wanted to say too. Thank you for, I didn't see who said that comment, but whoever just said conversion therapy, thank you so much for saying that, because I just now remembered also in that comment section were a lot of gay men. And a lot of these gay men were like, look, people have tried to push who I'm supposed to be attracted to on me my entire life. Don't you dare come at me like that. So imagine being someone who is gay, or a woman who is a lesbian, and coming out of the closet and feeling uncomfortable and having people tell you that there's something wrong with you because you're not attracted to a particular sex. It's going full circle. It's like radical, or it's like fourth wave feminism. It goes full circle and then it starts to eat itself. And then it becomes the very thing that it was trying not to be. Ooh. Breaking news. Okay, let's look at it together while we're on here. Okay, so Glenn says there's breaking news. The Michigan, the Michigan school shooter, his parents are going to be charged. Okay. Let's look this up together. Yeah, I heard some strange. Oh, yep, here we go. Okay, let's read this together. So, prosecutor files charges against parents of 15-year-old suspect in Michigan school shooting. A Michigan prosecutor on Friday filed involuntary, manslaughter charges against the parents of the 15-year-old suspect. Jennifer and James, those are the parents, are each charged with 4 counts. So there was actually 4. I believe someone passed away in the hospital, which is really sad. Charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter after their son Ethan was accused of fatally shooting 4 students. So it's saying, and apparently they had just purchased this gun, so they're being accused of the way that they handled this was far beyond negligence. Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDaniel previously called Crumbley's parents' actions far beyond negligence. His father had purchased the firearm 4 days before the shooting. The gun seems to have been just freely available. Oh, wow. The parents were the only individuals in the position to know the access to the weapons. Unfortunately, he was allowed... Oh, wait. McDonald said in another interview this week that additional unreleased evidence in this case was troubling and disturbing. Unfortunately, he was allowed to go back to class. The suspect had been flagged twice by school personnel for concerning behavior, with the first coming the day before the shooting and the second just hours before. The suspect's parents were brought to the school around 10 a.m. the day of the shooting for a meeting with the student and school personnel. Copycat threats circled social media. Wow, okay, so it looks like this is... I heard that before. So this individual had been saying really concerning things and making threats previously, and nothing really seemed to happen. And there were students at the school. I watched an interview with a girl that attended the school and was there that day. She wasn't harmed. And her sister happened to work down the street. And just a week earlier, the sister picked her up because she was afraid that something was going to happen at school, that there was going to be a shooting because all these threats were circulating. And apparently this individual, like exactly what I just said, had said some really concerning things and had really concerning behavior. And the fact that the parents had just bought this firearm and did not have it hidden away or locked up or anything like that is why it seems like they're being charged with this. Okay, that's pretty much all that we know so far. Wow. All guns come with a cable lock. Failing to secure a weapon is a sin. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. Well, that's good to know. So it seems like it wasn't secured at all. They didn't know that it was missing. They were there the day before. Oh no, they were there the day of. And they didn't even know it was gone or that it was missing. So that meeting was the day that this happened. Yeah, no good. Lance said, if you can afford it, safe or lockbox. And then the conversation will always go, like what Alec Baldwin did, will always go to the dangers of firearms. But in a lot of these cases, people are really negligent with their firearms. And I've never purchased a gun, but safety, when I went to go shooting, when they were teaching us how to shoot, safety was number one. That was the number one thing that is drilled into your head from start to finish is safety. Oh, I have one more thing for you and then I'll go. So this is how bad crime... This is how bad it's getting in New York. I only fired a weapon in the military. So Bank of America in New York City is telling their younger staffers to dress down while they're coming to work because of the crime surge, so they attract less attention to themselves. Isn't that really sad? These execs have told their staffers dressing up or wearing anything with a Bank of America logo could make them a target. One bank employee on Monday said he is on high alert after he spotted someone with a knife near the office building on a recent trek to the Manhattan workplace. Yeah, that's sad. I worked at a bank a long time ago, and that was the most fun part because I never had a job where I could dress up really fancy. And that was one of the fun parts about working there, is that I got to finally dress up. There, why can't we have nice things? Because everyone wants to take the nice things. We can't even have nice things anymore. Well, that's what people, and I hate that I keep talking about my neighborhood, but what happens in California always makes it its way back east, and makes it its way, now it becomes federal law. But that's what people in my neighborhood, when that's what my old neighborhood, that's what they talk about. They're like, I try to look like I'm homeless when I go outside my house now, so nobody targets me. I try to wear the the ugliest clothes that I can so that I'm not targeted anywhere. And people already like don't wear jewelry when they go out and stuff. It's pretty sad. The People's Republic of California. Look at Brandon. How nice is that? There was a big sign. I was driving down one of these country roads outside my house, and there was a big Let's Go Brandon sign. I thought that was pretty funny. All right, I think that's everything I have for you today. I'll see you all later. Have a really good weekend. Have a really good Friday. Is it Friday? Yes, it is. Have a really good Friday. Homeless people get robbed. No one is safe. Yeah, and even if you live in a mansion in Beverly Hills and have security, it's really sad. Later, all. Have a good weekend. Okay, I'll see you all later. Bye. Bye, guys. Have a good weekend.